Chris, there are two things I want to do in this video. Clarify our new rules, and finally talk about Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. So let's go! No time for that. Chris, there seems to be some confusion over our new rules. Part of this might have to do with the fact that your video was incomplete, but I think mostly it has to do with the fact that people are overthinking things. The first important thing about the rules is the deadline system. It's not that complicated. A new video is due every 3 days. That's it. A new video is due every 3 days. Pretty easy. And it's a non-sliding system. So due dates don't change based on when we post videos. For instance, your next video is due on the 11th. And mine is due on the 14th. If you post your video on the 11th, mine is due on the 14th. If you post your video on the 10th, mine is still due on the 14th. If you post your video on the 12th, you get punished, and mine is still due on the 14th. If you do not post a video, you still get punished, it's still due on the 14th. There's nothing that's going to stop my video from being due on the 14th. No holidays, no birthdays, no vacations, nada. I have taken the liberty of creating a calendar myself. It was actually fairly easy in Google Calendar. You can access this calendar at www.tinyurl.com/videobloggerycal. Link in the sidebar. Next, punishments. Chris, I don't know if you misspoke, or if we just had a different understanding of how the punishment system's gonna work, but the way I thought we had agreed is that all 4 punishments would go into the pool, and then it would stay that way until a punishment was needed. Then the cheese whales would vote on it. In any case, I'll tell you my 2 punishments at the end of the video, after I've thought of them. And the last thing is video length. Now, it has always been the rule that videos are to be no shorter than 1 minute, no longer than 5. And that is still the rule. But if I recall, you and I decided that videos under 2.5 minutes would be frowned upon. As to what exactly would happen if one of us posted a video that was under 2.5 minutes, well, we don't know. Science does not tell us the answer. So those are the rules. Pretty simple if you ask me. In fact, simpler than they were before. So with that out of the way, time to talk about the Half-Blood Prince. Now, I don't know if you've seen it yet, Chris, but I quite liked the movie. I thought a lot of the performances were really good, and the effects were special indeed. And the direction was really solid. Not Alfonso Cuarón brilliant, but solid. I thought the characterization was really well done, especially with regards to Harry, Hermione, and Malfoy. The way Harry and Malfoy were played against each other was actually pretty cool. I think it was one of the best parts of the movie. And the friendship between Harry and Hermione was actually important this time around. And it did a really good job of grounding the movie, which I think has a lot to do with the fact that both Dan Radcliffe and Emma Watson have grown a lot as actors. Rupert Grint was just sort of Rupert Grint. But that's boring. Talking about things you like is boring. It's the things you didn't like that are interesting. And luckily, even though I liked the movie a lot, there were some problems that I can talk about. Most notably that the film was very long, and a disproportionate amount of that length was spent on romantic relationships. Now, most of it was fairly well done. It even served to make Ginny Weasley almost interesting and likable. Almost. But the romantic relationship stuff did get annoying. Lavender! Sorry, I have a cough. And by giving so much attention to romantic relationships, there were other areas that were pretty important but got underdeveloped. One of them, of course, was the whole Half-Blood Prince thing. Now, in the book, they actually try to find out who the Half-Blood Prince is, so when we find out that it's Snape, there's actually some sort of logic and sense to it. In the movie, there is not. I mean, it is true that Hermione says, "You shouldn't use that book until you found out who the Half-Blood Prince really is." And Harry's all, "To fool Hermione." But anyway, since no real thought is given to it, there's no drama to the revelation that Snape is the Half-Blood Prince. It's just sort of like he's standing there and Harry's lying there, and Snape's all, "I'm the Half-Blood Prince, Potter." And Harry's all, "Oh!" Which reminds me that that whole scene was underdone, with the Death Eaters attacking Hogwarts. I mean, I understand why they downplayed it, because the last movie is going to have a big giant battle of Hogwarts, but it really did undermine the whole menace of the Death Eaters, which was another major problem with the movie. Too much lovin', not enough murder! But hey, I thought it was really good anyway. It might even have beaten Prisoner of Azkaban as the best Harry Potter movie if they had cut it a little bit shorter. In a way, it doesn't really matter whether the movie was good or bad. I just don't care that much, because I'm not a huge fan of the movies. I'm a fan of the books. I'm as big of a Harry Potter fan as the next guy. Actually, I'm probably a bigger Harry Potter fan than the next guy. But to me, Harry Potter fandom is about really, really liking the books. I'm not a part of that whole wizard rocking, wand owning, scarf knitting Harry Potter fandom. And whether this movie was awesome or a complete flop didn't matter that much to whether or not I would like the books, because I would still like the books anyway. Now, last time I tried to film this review, which did not end well, I launched into a big rant about some things that upset me about Harry Potter. Or more specifically, some things that upset me about J.K. Rowling. I'm not gonna go into that rant this time. For now, I'm just gonna wrap up this video and announce which 2 punishments I'm adding to the pool. For the first punishment, the offender must pick 3 consecutive days. During those 3 days, he may not leave his home unless he is dressed in strict Mount St. Charles dress code. And I'm talking about the Mount St. Charles dress code from the beginning of your and my high school career. That means no sneakers and no sweatshirts. And the shirt has to be tucked in. And the other punishment that's going in the pool, the offender must memorize one of Shakespeare's sonnets and recite it for 15 complete strangers. And of course, provide video evidence that he has done so. So as far as I understand it, all 4 of our punishments are going to stay in the pool until one of us needs to be punished. And then you, the cheese whales, will get to vote in comments on which one the offender must do. So that wraps up today's video. Chris, I'll see you on Tuesday. Have a nice breakfast.